Alright, everybody, welcome back. So, dev servers here, there is a ton of brand new content to go around. This is like an absolutely massive update in terms of new vehicles, although a lot of them are copy and paste. We don't talk about that. At least most of these are kind of semi-unique copy and paste. Every nation has at least one vehicle that gets these new medium-range BVR AAMs, and a lot of them are getting brand new ones. For example, Israel is getting the improved Baz. That should be Baz Meshupar. It's a little bit weird they translated Meshupar into English, but I'm not going to question it. Japan is getting the F-15J Kai. This is another one where they got the name wrong. J Kai is like a fictional name that the Western media and some other news outlets came up with to talk about the F-15J upgrades, which what we have should be an F-15J J-MSIP II, which is actually the current F-15J in service. They just kind of skipped to the straight end of the line one. The JSI could come as well as a prototype, but not really going to talk about that for now. Germany got their only FOX-3 missile carrier, which is the F-4 FI. I think it's pitiful. We'll talk about that more here in a bit. And no, the Mi-29G cannot carry R-77 because I've seen some people asking about that. US, of course, got the F-15C MSIP II. Russia got the Se-27 SM. This thing is looking pretty good for a flanker. The China got the J-11A, which is just worse than the Russian one at the same BR. Sweden is getting a JAS-39C. They decided to go ahead and add a new one to force you to grind out the AMRAAMs, even though the A Gripen totally could have gotten the AMRAAMs instead, because it never actually used sky flashes. It only ever used AMRAAMs for radar missiles, but we don't talk about that, and this was kind of expected. And bringing down some love with two new vehicles, the Tornado F.3 Late and the Harrier FA.2. France actually got the best F-16, which we'll be talking about here in a little bit, but it's the F-16AM, which also carries AMRAAM. So out of these quote-unquote new vehicles, literally all of them we have already seen their airframes in the game. I'm not playing the right one right now, I'm playing the South African one, but of course the Swedes are getting the Sea Gripen. There's literally nothing different here from the other Sea Gripens, especially the Hungarian one. The only difference would be in terms of ground loadouts, but that's not really relevant to my channel for the most part. So off of memory, it doesn't get the really good Mavericks, the G Mavericks, but it does get AMRAAMs, which makes it better than the British one. Equal to the Hungarian one, though, which is already in the game. By the way, quick side note, apparently the Gripen is getting nerfed. The change hasn't actually been pushed to the dev server yet, but in the change log, it mentioned that it's going to be getting another 1 degree a second sustained turn rate nerf. So assuming this actually does go through, it looks like the F-16A Block 10 will probably actually beat the Gripen now in a dogfight. The F-15s are probably going to be the star of this update for most people, and of course the F-15C brings along with it HMD, which I had a lot of people telling me that the F-15A wasn't meta purely because it didn't have an HMD, and well, now the F-15C does have that. All the new F-15s for every nation, whether that be the US, Israel, or Japan, all do have HMD before any of y'all ask in the comments down below. When it comes to the American one, it gets access to 4 AIM-9Ms, which you're already familiar with, and 4 AMRAAMs. Now, this may change, and in my opinion, it probably should. I don't think having more AMRAAMs will actually affect the meta at all. Like, realistically, the most you'd want to run with these is probably 6 AMRAAMs, and even then, I might still personally run 4 and 4, just like I'm doing right now. I just think that them artificially not giving it the 8 AMRAAMs and just not giving the option is a little bit dumb. But even if they don't, it's whatever. I just wish they'd be a little more transparent and say, hey, we think it'd be too strong, we don't want to do it. I'd be fine with that. I'd like them to actually say it, not just not add it, not say anything about it, and just leave us here wondering if they just somehow don't know about the AMRAAMs or anything else. The F-15C is noticeably heavier than the A, and currently it actually has weaker engines as well. This should hopefully get changed because I have seen several bug reports out on the flight performance not being correct. One of them got unlisted, so hopefully it'll be back soon. I personally put in a bug report for the weight of the aircraft, but I might have calculated it wrong because apparently Gaijin includes the weight of like oil and the pilot and stuff like that, and mine did not. All in all, though, this will still be a better plane for ARB, and it's going to be one of the strongest, especially if they decide to go ahead and give it the BOL pods, which it also used. Even without, though, with 240 flares and with the current kit, it is still going to be a very, very good addition. Moving on to the F-15J Kai, quote-unquote, which I'm hoping that name will get fixed. This gets access to the AAM-4, and currently it's actually worse than the AMRAAM. The thing is, these are very, very much copy and pasted stats. It doesn't even have the right length at the moment. It's 3.1 meters long. It's supposed to be 3.66. And what some people have noticed looking at the stats, they just copy and paste it over some of the Mika stats and change the mass. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this was thrown in last minute, and so they didn't actually have time to go ahead and, correct it to what the stat should actually be. So I would not expect it to perform anything like this when it actually comes to live, and honestly, whenever they update the dev, it might be different as well. Now, in real life, this thing is supposed to be much better than the AMRAM A and B. It's supposed to be about AMRAM C5 level, maybe a little bit less in terms of kinematics. And if they do actually buff this, which I am fairly confident they will, the F-15J is shaping up to be probably the strongest F-15 next update. The AAM-3 is no wonder weapon right now. It is basically just a slightly better AIM-9M with a little bit more range. It doesn't actually pull any harder than the AIM-9M realistically, but it is still a better missile, and if the AAM-4 is also better than the AMRAM, well, then it'll just have a better kit overall. And of course, the F-15J currently is not finished either. If you look at it, it has the wrong engines if you look in the hangar. It has the 100 engines, which you get on the normal F-15A and J. It should have the 220s like the F-15C, so I would expect the flight model to change. I'd assume it'd probably get heavier because currently it has the exact same weight as the early F-15J. And whenever they sort out whatever is going on with these 220 engines, because the thrust curves seem to be a little bit wrong right now, just according to what I've seen, the new F-15J will probably wind up in the same boat as the F-15C, where, assuming they fix it, it'll be a little bit heavier, but it'll have better engines, and so it should still be competitive flight model-wise. It's not going to be nearly as bad as something like the SMT, for example. I'm not actually going to show off the new Israeli F-15. For air-to-air, just pretend it's exactly the same thing. It gets the Python, of course, which is a better missile grinding through the mods than the AIM-9L, and it does get some different air-to-ground loadouts, but besides that, for air-to-air, which is what we really care about for the most part on this channel, and which is the focus of this video, FOX-3s and all, you're not going to notice any kind of a difference. It even has the exact same weight as the American F-15C at the moment. I will, however, show off the brand new German edition, which is the F4F ice. Essentially what they did is they took an F4F, they slap a F-15 radar in there, and they gave it AMRAMs. This thing at 12.7 is incredibly sad. Now, it does get a new cockpit for you sim enjoyers, and looks kind of cool, I suppose, but in terms of the meta, this thing is horrible. So you get the exact same flat model as the F4F, at least. It's not any heavier at the moment. The RWR is terrible right now, but just keep in mind it's placeholder. It's the same RWR as the F4F early, which I'm assuming they copy and pasted the flat model stuff over from. And the problem is you're a Phantom, which does get 4 AMRAMs at least, which is a decent kit, but once those are off, you are absolutely slaughtered by everything else in the lobby, which, surprise, surprise, also has those same AMRAMs. It is only 0.3 lower than them at the moment. The even funnier thing is they only gave it the normal AIM-9L. So in case you didn't know, this plane in real life was called the AIM-9LI, and the original ones were just AIM-9L, smoke motor and all, with an AIM-9M seeker head, essentially. Now, there were later ones that had a smokeless motor that they could also decide to add if they wish to do so. And so in that case, they could literally copy and paste the AIM-9M over and just call it an AIM-9LI. Now, they could also decide to move this down in VR, and personally, I think that's the better option. If they really, really, really want to leave this thing at 12.7, it needs better IR missiles than just box-standard AIM-9Ls. Personally, I think they could just drop it to 12.3, have a little bit better of a chance, because then they could at least get some down tiers sometimes, because at least at the moment, on the live server, 12.3 is getting down tiers. But yeah, overall, this thing is just sad. And it's the only thing that Germany can get realistically, unless they get a subtree, until the Eurofighter, which is still a while away. I'd say at earliest December. Next up, we have the SE-27 SM, and this is looking pretty good. It's a flanker, but better. It is 400 kilograms heavier, but the missiles are lighter. The R-77 doesn't weigh nearly as much as the R-27ER, so in practice, the plane will feel just as good, if not better. The big, massive upgrade for this thing is its RWR. It gets the Pastel RWR, which is the same one the Mi-29 SMT has, and this means you actually get a digital RWR that tells you what you're looking at, and that is a massive deal at top tier. Kit-wise, IR missiles are the same with the R-73s, but now, of course, you get the R-77, and these missiles are looking pretty good. They do bleed a lot of speed really quickly, but they are now 50G missiles, and they pull very hard. They should be performing very well in the dogfight, and I think this thing is going to be doing very well next update. I still think the F-15C is going to be more meta, but this is going to be a very, very strong contender, and hopefully these R-77s will make up a little bit for the SE-27's flat model being kinda... yeah. I did get any footage of the J-11A, but just note it is a slightly heavier, and I mean very slightly. The SE-27SM is 16,700 kilograms. The J-11A is 16,870. So you're looking at a difference of like 170 kilograms. It doesn't really make a difference, and the kit is exactly the same. The only thing is that it does get a worse RWR, the SPO-15. And so if you're going to be choosing one or the other to grind, I would definitely choose the SE-27SM. So I mentioned earlier Britain was getting a lot of love this patch, and they are getting several new vehicles. They may not be the best, like for example, they're getting a Tornado that has AMRAAMs and 9M. It's currently sitting at 12.7. I would probably just pass this thing up, to be honest. It's really not all that great. Great shot, by the way, from that SE-27. If you really want a Tornado with AMRAAMs, then sure, but honestly, you're just better off just playing the Gripen. The Sea Harrier is a little bit of a different choice. This thing still does not look really good at all. It has a very interesting layout. You have to choose between either AMRAAMs or the guns on the inner pylons, and then you can choose between having 4 AIM-9Ms on the outer wings, or 2 AMRAAMs on the outer wings, or 2 Sidewinders, but you get BOL pods. So you have 60 flares internal, which for a subsonic at top tier really isn't all that great, and to be honest, at top tier in general, it's not all that great. But at the same time, I don't want to give up all those missiles just for the ability to have some extra flares. It's kind of in a difficult position. If I had a gun with this kit, I feel much more comfortable. As it is, I think this thing will have more of a place in the meta than, say, for example, the Tornado, just because it is a lower BR. But honestly, you're still probably going to be better off just playing the British Gripen, even though it is going to be worse than the Swedish and the Hungarian ones, just because it gets, you know, the Derby missile. Well, R-Darter technically, but it's the same thing. Our final jet with FOX-3s to cover is going to be the F-16AM. And in case you missed this somehow, the French are actually getting this because they're getting a Benelux subtree. Along with this, we are getting what is going to be almost certainly the best F-16 in the game. So they took an F-16 Block 15 flight model, you know, the ADF one, and they gave it AMRAAMs and AIM-9M, and it has 120 internal flares like the F-16C, and it actually has a MAW system as well, so if someone fires a missile at you, it gives you a warning and, you know, tells you to start flaring. You can also set it up, because by the way, you can bring flare pods to bring even more countermeasures than what you have right now, to just dump flares as well whenever they're fired at you, so you actually don't even have to look behind you. Just the fact that you get a F-16 ADF flight model, which is the second best F-16 flight model, with the F-16C kit already makes this thing amazing, and apparently there's also some bug reports out to get it HMD as well, although I haven't seen that personally. So if that does happen, this thing is going to be absolutely insane next patch. Will I still play the F-15 over this? Probably. Will this thing also be incredible? Definitely. The final thing that I want to say before I go, even though it doesn't directly relate to all these planes, is that none of these missiles are finished. Take all of these values not at face value. Remember that this is the dev server. As you can see right here, I'm using the Derbies, and these things are absolutely terrible at the moment. They are by far the worst. And it's mostly because they just loft super hard, they have no speed left, and in some cases they're coming down behind the target. You know, you have other ones like the AAM-4, for example, which appears to have had stuff copied from the Mika directly over to it. I'm assuming just because they didn't have time to actually code it. I think the AAM-4 was a last-minute decision on their part. Just keep in mind that everything on the dev server is subject to change. I would not expect any of these missiles to come to server as is. I mean, look at these things. They're taking forever to get there. The only one that I think is somewhat close is the AMRAAM, and if you want more information, I'd recommend checking out Jake's video. He's going to be covering this shortly. I don't know exactly when. But in any case, hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Are you excited for next update? And I'll catch y'all next time. So, peace, y'all.